January 8, 2017, the crew of USS Mahan stares down 4 Iranian patrol boats racing in at full speed. Radio calls go unanswered. Flares are ignored. The range collapses to less than 900 yards. Then, with a single order, everything changes. What forced an American destroyer to fire, and how close did the world come to disaster that day? Radar operators on the USS Mahan first picked up the 4 Iranian patrol boats as faint blips, moving fast and closing from the south. The bridge team tracked the speed and bearing, watching as the contacts gained definition. Small, low-profile craft, typical of the Revolutionary Guard's fast attack fleet. Within moments, the officer of the deck ordered the first radio hail. The message went out on the standard maritime frequency. Unidentified vessels. This is United States warship. Remain clear. Silence. The Iranian boats held course. A second hail followed, this time sharper, repeating the warning in English and the international Q code. Still nothing. The boats pressed on, now slicing through the water at more than 30 knots. The tactical action officer called for the ship's whistle, long, deliberate blasts that echoed across the strait. Crew members on the bridge shifted their attention between radar screens and the growing shapes on the horizon. The tension built with each unanswered call. Visual signals came next. Sailors fired flares high into the sky. Bright streaks meant to catch the eye and signal caution. Smoke grenades followed, drifting across the surface as a clear sign to back off. The Iranian craft ignored every cue, engines roaring as they accelerated. The range shrank rapidly, from a mile to half that, then under 1,000 yards. By now, the bridge was crowded. The commanding officer, the tactical action officer, watchstanders, and communications ratings all at their stations, voices clipped and urgent over the internal net. Despite the escalating signals, multiple radio calls, the ship's horn, and repeated flares, the Iranian boats refused to alter course or reply. The Mahan's crew ran through the escalation ladder step by step, each action logged by time and protocol. Yet the boats kept coming, closing the gap to under 900 yards. The risk of collision was no longer theoretical. Every second counted as the destroyer's bridge team weighed their next move, the line between warning and action wearing thin. At 890 yards, the command decision arrived. The bridge team barely had time to process the shrinking gap before the order came down. Fire a warning burst. The 50 caliber gun crew, already at their station and tracking the lead boat, squeezed off 3 sharp rounds into the water. A tight, deliberate burst, each shot sending up a plume. The sound cut through the tension on deck and across the strait. For a split second, nothing changed. Then as the echo faded, the Iranian patrol boats veered off, their engines throttled back, wakes fanning out as they turned away from the destroyer's bow. No return fire, no challenge, just a sudden, unmistakable retreat. On the bridge, a collective exhale. The immediate danger had passed, but hands stayed on controls and eyes on screens. The tactical action officer logged the shot count and range, noting the precise moment the threat ended. Command relayed a quick update up the chain, confirming the use of non-lethal warning fire in line with standing rules. Overhead, a Navy helicopter circled, ready to drop smoke grenades or provide visual deterrence if needed, but the confrontation was over almost as quickly as it began. The destroyer resumed her course, the crew alert but steady, the memory of that 2-minute spike still fresh. The warning shots had done their job, clear, forceful, and unmistakable. What could have spiraled into chaos ended with a calculated show of restraint and resolve. The decision to fire warning shots in the Strait of Hormuz was not made on impulse or out of routine aggression. Every action on the USS Mahan that January morning was governed by the standing rules of engagement known as SROE. These rules, drafted by Pentagon lawyers and refined by Navy judge advocates, lay out exactly when and how force may be used. At the heart of the standing rules of engagement is the principle of necessity. Force is only permitted when it is required to defend against a hostile act or to clear hostile intent. Hostile intent means any movement or posture that signals an imminent threat, even before a shot is fired. The Mahan's bridge team followed this guidance to the letter, escalating from radio hails to flares, then to the ship's whistle, each step logged and justified. Under these protocols, warning shots are allowed only after all lesser signals have failed and the danger is unmistakable. The legal advisors who train Navy crews emphasize proportionality. That means the response must match the threat, no more, no less. Firing a 50 caliber burst into open water is considered a non-lethal signal designed to deter without causing harm. The SROE also require that commanders retain the authority to act swiftly if time does not permit consultation with higher command. In the chaos of a fast approaching threat, the officer of the deck and the tactical action officer on the Mahan had the responsibility and the legal right to order warning shots once the range collapsed and all other warnings were ignored. International law supports this approach. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea and the San Remo Manual both recognize the right of warships to defend themselves and to use graduated signals, including warning shots to deter unsafe approaches. But these same conventions demand restraint. Any use of force must be necessary, and it must not exceed what is required to restore safety. In the Mahan incident, the crew's decision to fire warning shots at 890 yards was a textbook application of these principles, a last resort measure, not an act of escalation. The official US Navy label for the encounter was described as unsafe and unprofessional, and it has a specific meaning. It signals that the Iranian boat's actions created a risk of collision or miscalculation, violating accepted norms of maritime conduct. For the Mahan's crew, the rules of engagement were not just legal jargon, they were the difference between restraint and chaos, between a warning burst and a potential firefight in one of the world's most sensitive waterways. Iran's naval doctrine in the Persian Gulf relies on speed, surprise, and numbers. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps' Navy, IRGCN, has spent years developing tactics built around swarming, sending groups of small, fast boats to close in on larger warships. The idea is simple: overwhelm a technologically superior adversary through maneuver and intimidation, not firepower. In the narrow waters of the Strait of Hormuz, these tactics turn geography into an advantage. Patrol boats dart in and out of radar shadows, testing the reactions of ships like the USS Mahan. Each close approach serves a dual purpose. It is a rehearsal for conflict and a message to foreign navies transiting what Iran considers its strategic backyard. Official statements from Tehran are often absent after incidents like the one with the Mahan. Instead, Iranian state media and IRGC outlets frame these encounters as routine patrols or necessary responses to foreign presence. When they do address such standoffs, the language is resolute, portraying Iranian crews as fearless defenders, undeterred by warnings or displays of force. In past incidents, IRGC spokesmen have described similar maneuvers as proof of Iran's resolve, sometimes calling them a demonstration of national sovereignty. The absence of direct commander testimony after the Mahan episode fits a familiar pattern. Iranian messaging avoids specifics about distance or escalation, focusing instead on the narrative of defiance. For the IRGC, these encounters are not just about naval tactics. They are political theater, broadcast to audiences at home and abroad. Each high-speed approach is a reminder that Iran will not yield control of its waters, no matter the size or firepower of the ship it confronts. The strategic stakes are never far from the surface. The Strait of Hormuz remains one of the world's most important maritime choke points, and every close pass or ignored hail is a calculated move in a broader contest of wills. Iranian planners know that ambiguity and unpredictability can be just as effective as firepower, especially when the world is watching. Every day, warships from rival nations pass within sight in the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point for nearly a fifth of the world's oil. One miscalculation here could spark global consequences. In these waters, restraint is not just strategy, it is the last line between tension and catastrophe.